Good afternoon, good evening, all. It's Bear here. And I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, aboxwithnolid. A channel I'm creating not just to bring understanding around the day-to-day realities that trauma creates, but I want to delve into the real-world understandings of what trauma does and how it changes everything. And how we can also, through that understanding, learn ways to improve the quality of our lives on the path to healing. Now, in this video, I want to raise and discuss about it's a twofold process that is I've found is extremely common in trauma response, and I was only recently reminded of it. That is that process of where we internalize what was done to us. We habituate because of how that trauma or how that abuse was being put to us. They were superior, we were inferior. They were able to perpetrate, we were powerless and helpless to stop it. Creates this internalized belief and this internalized processing and interpretation structure that we are somehow less than. And we internalize everything that reminds us of that trauma or triggered or the ongoing process of that trauma when you have a prolonged abuse history, or when you have a lot of or a multitude of different traumatic experiences. And that internalization that we have, as I said in the beginning of this, is a twofold process, because when we grow into adults, we defend that it's not there. But when we make that defense, we also inside know that we don't believe it. But most people will advocately, and aggressively even defend that they don't internalize. But in reality, we really do. This internalization process, this self-blame, as I said in the beginning, it comes from our inability to stop what was being done to us from happening. It is a part of that shame. It's a part of that helplessness, that freeze and shutdown. It's a part of that place where everything we thought we could protect ourselves didn't work, or we could stop things, or we had rights, or however you want to play this out. But because we were unable to, we internalize it and make it our fault. And then when events come afterwards, or when there's bullying or pressured, or, anything where people are trying to dominate or push their will upon us, we internalize and make it our fault. When things don't work out the way we hoped, it's our fault. And over time, this creates a belief that we are broken. For me, I've spent the majority of my life believing that I was broken because of how I was removed and how I was placed for adoption and everything that happened in a child. No matter how hard I tried to be part of, to create positive connections and positive attachments, things just did not work. But it's not that I'm broken. It's that I never learned how to connect properly. It's that I never learned how to do the to and fro, the titration and the integration of new experiences and the growth of emotional investments and everything that happens around new experiences and new connections. Forming relationships and friendships and colleagues and work beliefs and structures and so forth. All of the skill sets required to develop that normally and naturally come from childhood and childhood development. They come from a secure attachment. If you have attachment trauma, that means all of those processes were altered. You never learned them the way that they need to be to have a functional connection style. I never learned them. It's not that I'm broken. It's that what I learned is broken. That what I learned was corrupted by trauma, was corrupted by the manipulation and views of those that sought to dominate and do harm, and to justify that harm, and all the repercussions that come with it. So when we start to try to heal from this, when we start to try to look at this, we ourselves as a person are not broken. What we do, what we have learned is create that separation, create that divide. That way you can, as an observer, look at what you do and make the amendments that you choose. As I've always said when healing trauma, we need to relearn everything from the ground up again. A lot of therapy structures go, that's too prolonged, too in-depth, takes too long, and they try to create these patches. But due to the internalization mechanism and due to the simple reality that everything we were couldn't stop what was happening to us, those patches in time inevitably won't last. So for me, it's smarter money to go back to the beginning, go back to basics, go back to the very start. If we heal our attachment trauma and we relearn all the skill sets that come with a secure attachment base, and we have enough information now around us, cell phones, the internet, we got access to a load of information to guide us on how we can create ways to relearn how to connect, to safely create interactions with those that are really close to us and are safe to be around. Those that give us the grace to learn, those that give us the grace to make the mistakes and understand that we're not being malicious. We're not actually trying to harm. We're just fumbling around in the dark trying to work out how this all works. To develop the skill sets and the emotional processes and the interpretive processes and everything we need to get our neurophysiology on board, to develop new connections with new people, as an infant and as a child would in a safe home environment. We do the same process in a more adult version, because most of us, when we get to addressing attachment trauma, we're adults. So it is through play, it is through understanding, it is through socialization, but it's done in ways that doesn't overload, that doesn't overwhelm, and allows us the grace and the ability to recognize those points where our internalization process starts. And we start, when we're having those conversations, there's a bunch of people around the table, and then something is said, and we go, and then, we start to withdraw, or we have to defend, or we go into these processes that reinforce that there is something not quite right. That reinforces what it is we're actually trying to change. We take that moment and pause and go, no, I am completely aware that I'm about to do this, that I'm going to run these scenarios, or I'm going to make this statement, or I'm going to discreetly make an excuse, get up and leave, or I'm going to throw that drink across the table and walk out, whatever. We recognize the need to do that. And we go, no, for me, not to keep the peace, not to do anything for anybody else, but for me, I'm going to change what I would normally do to benefit me. Even if this situation doesn't have the depth or the support required, at that moment of opportunity, you can choose to recognize and do yourself a great service in going, I'm going to change how I respond for me. Not to appease, not to make amends, or not to prove a point, but I'm doing it to help me grow, and the next set of engagements I can improve on how I connect and interact with other people. It's about relearning how to connect how a child does. And children screw up all the time. TikTok, the internet is filled with all the videos of where they faux pas and they do things that they shouldn't. And they are reprimanded, or through some structure are taught that this is not going to work, try it this way. This is not going to work, do it this way. Well, we take that same analogy to our own experiences, and start to skill our nervous system up, start to skill our process and interpretive processes and the way we interact, the knowledge bases that we have, so that we can start to heal the attachment trauma that feeds this internalization process of making everything our fault. And as I said in the beginning, it's not that we're broken, it's that what we learned is broken, and we're starting to heal what is broken. We're starting to put in the pieces that are needed to get that attachment and that way that we interact, the way that we connect, to work in a more natural and a positive way. For me, the only way we can ever heal trauma and complex trauma is to heal attachment trauma. When we are naturally part of a safe community, a safe group, our body will start to release. Our body will start to naturally tremor. Our body will start to do all these processes. But it's also we have those around us, the diversity around us, to relearn. To relearn what was broken, what we learned that is broken, so that we can engage with our life and start to build more and more and more in what we want to create, live, and experience. So understand, as we internalize, we believe we are broken. We are not. The only thing that is broken is what we learned, and that can be fixed through simply relearning. As always, I love you guys' comments and feedback. Please be mindful, respectful, and safe, and I'll see you all next time.